They called you crazy because you reacted to what they did. It did not start with you being crazy. It started with something feeling off. Feeling off. There were moments when their words did not match their actions, and you noticed it. You paid attention to small changes, the inconsistency, and the way certain situations did not sit right with you. At first, you questioned yourself more than you questioned them. You tried to be understanding. You tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, but the feeling did not go away. The more you paid attention, the more you began to see a pattern. They would do something that crossed a boundary or create confusion, and when you react to it, they would shift the focus onto you instead of addressing what they did. They started questioning your reaction. They made it seem like your response was the real issue, not their behavior. Over time, that pattern became consistent. You were not reacting out of nowhere. You were responding to something that was happening repeatedly. You were responding to mixed signals, emotional distance, and moments where you felt dismissed or ignored. And moments where you felt dismissed or ignored, you reacted. Your reactions came from trying to make sense of something that was unclear. But instead of clarity, you were given labels. You were told overreacting. You were overreacting. You were told you were too emotional. Eventually, it turned into being called crazy. That label did not come from truth. It came from deflection. Calling you crazy allowed them to avoid accountability. It shifted the attention away from what they were doing and placed it on how you were responding. That shift made it easier for them to continue the same behavior without having to explain it. It also created doubt in your mind, which made you question yourself instead of questioning them. At some point, you started noticing the pattern more clearly. You realized that every time you tried to express how you felt, the conversation would turn into something else. Your concerns were not being addressed. Instead, they were being minimized or redirected. You began to see that your reactions was not the problem. That situation you were reacting to was the real issue. That realization is not happening all at once. That realization did not happen all at once. It came gradually through a repeated experience. You started to connect the dots. You saw how the same cycle kept repeating. They would do something, you would react, and then they would make your reaction the focus. Once you saw the pattern, it became harder to ignore. As you became more aware, your response began to change. You did not react the same way you used to. You stopped engaging in conversations that led nowhere. You stopped trying to explain yourself to someone who was not trying to understand you. Who was not trying to understand you. That shift created a different kind of silence. It was not the silence of confusion. It was the silence of clarity. That change also affected them. They were used to your reaction. They were used to having something to point at and use against you. When you stopped giving them that, the dynamic changed. There was no longer a reaction they could label. There was no longer a way to shift the focus. That absence made their behavior more visible, even if they did not acknowledge it directly. You were never crazy to react for reacting. You were responding to something that felt wrong. Even if you could not fully explain it at the time, your reaction was a signal that something needed attention. It was not the problem. The problem was the behavior that created the reaction in the first place. Now you are in a different place. You are no longer questioning your instincts the same way you understand that your feelings were valid. You understand that your reactions came from trying to protect your peace and make sense of what was happening. That understanding gives you clarity. That understanding gives you clarity that does not depend on their opinion. They called you crazy because it made things easier for them. It allows them to avoid looking at their own actions. But the label does not define you. What defines you is the awareness you gained and the decision you made to stop accepting something that did not feel right. You did not lose anything by stepping back. You gained clarity. You gained understanding. And most importantly, you gained the ability to trust yourself again without needing someone else to confirm what you already felt. Thank you for watching up to this end. If this is your first time coming across this channel, this is Alice and you are welcome to my page. May God continue to bless you. To my returning subscribers, I say a very big thank you to you for always showing up to this channel. May God continue to bless you.